I'm John Britton.
And I'm Angela Jamieson, and together we've created the School of Humankind.
We'd like to welcome you to Humanity, where Angela, I, and sometimes other guests get ourselves a cup of tea and talk about the things that matter, how to be human in a really complicated world. Good morning to you, Angela.
Good morning, John. Is
Technically
it morning for
afternoon.
you? It
No,
isn't even
it's
morning for you.
it's way into the afternoon. You know this. You
I
know that
know.
we are separated by an ocean and many time zones, but united by our need for a damn good cup of tea from time to time.
Time to time, constantly.
Absolutely. You know what happened? The only thing that happened, the only time I'm not drinking tea is when I'm kickstarting my brain with coffee.
Oh, there you go. Yes, I agree. I do fit in cups of water in between, though.
Absolutely. Just to detox the system. What tea are you
Yes.
drinking today, Angela?
Well, it's one of my, I guess, old standards. I do the Japanese roasted tea, the green tea.
Hmm.
I think they call it sencha. But do you know that one? The
I haven't had
roasted
it for
rice
many,
tea?
many years, but I do know it. I drink a different Japanese tea sometimes, but I'm not at the moment, so I won't talk about it. But
Okay. You might talk about it at a future episode.
absolutely, special Japanese tea episode. Uh, I have had sencha many years ago. It's nice, isn't it?
It is. It's very calming, I find.
Well, while you
The
in
roasted
Canada,
aroma.
oh, I love that
Sorry.
smell. You in Canada are
Yes.
drinking Japanese tea. I in Ireland am drinking Greek tea. I am on a
Ooh.
mix of Greek mountain tea and Greek sage tea. Sometimes I have just mountain tea or just sage, but today I've got a little mix of them. Because when I was in London a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, a Greek friend of mine, gave me 2 packets of sage tea and 2 packets of Greek mountain tea because I'd run out. And it's quite my favorite thing in the whole world.
Isn't that gorgeous? And I love gifts of tea
Mm.
because it's kind of like a little kiss to your heart.
And especially if you're working, and these aren't tea bags, these are just dried leaves in a packet. Something very
Yes.
tactile about you get the leaves and you drop them in the cup and then you pour on the water and it releases the smell. It's very personal.
Yes. Or you do like me, who was in a bit of a rush this morning. I washed my hands and then I dug into my little tea box and I had a hand fingers full of tea leaves.
Which are now gradually getting caught between the keys of your computer.
Yes, it's everywhere. No.
Hey,
Anyway, what are we talking about today, John?
time to get real. I think today we are talking about the thorny question of authenticity. I mean, what the hell is that, really?
And
What are
yeah,
they talking about?
did you notice it's authenticity?
Oh, you're very good. You're very good.
If
Enough,
if
enough,
people
enough.
could only see my head wave, authenticity.
Yeah, I know you had. It's quite remarkable, actually. I'm going to audio describe that as she got to the T of authenticity, Angela's head dipped slightly as if her neck had disappeared into her body. Her head shifted, top of her head shifted to the left, and she did a sort of a inverse C shape, like half of an O, as her neck re-emerged. It was quite remarkable.
Thank you.
I would say do it again, but I'm a little afraid of you injuring yourself and having to pay for a physio to get you looked at.
It's my turtleneck that helps.
Absolutely. Enough of this banter.
Okay.
Authenticity. Are you real? Are you the real Angela?
Well, I'd like to challenge the notion of authenticity because we see it all the time in self-help and in
Mm.
personal development. Be your authentic self. But what does that really mean? And I think just the whole thing of be your authentic self seems to indicate there's a one thing that's deep inside you that is your authentic self.
Mm.
But my whole opinion on this is that your authentic self is constantly in motion. And so it's really our attitude towards life which makes it authentic or not. If we are open for new experiences, if we are open to learn, that's really our authentic self shaping itself every day. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you say. I think
I thought you were going to
that
say, but not this time.
when you say when we're open to learning, that's our authentic self shaping itself. I would think of that slightly differently. That to be open to learning is to be accessing what it is to be really human. In humans, we are here to learn. So it's to be authentically human, to be curious, to take pleasure in the process of discovery, to see what we don't understand and seek to understand it or to experience it. I think these are the things that make us human. I don't think that maps onto any idea of an authentic self. Because, like you, I think that that's a myth. I think it's something which has been invented for two reasons. I think it's been invented historically because in the West, particularly since the 19th century, but for several centuries before that, there's been more and more emphasis on the individual being separate to everyone else. Whereas in many other cultures, particularly in indigenous cultures, but not only in indigenous cultures, the self is always seen as networked, always seen as part of everything else. So the authentic self might be seen as being the environment or the mountains or the forest or the community. That's the authentic self. Whereas in the West, we got very hung up on the idea that we're all separate to each other. And there are economic and religious and spiritual reasons why the West has gone down that path. Um, the other reason that I think it's been uh, invented as an idea is that if you say there is an authentic self, you say there is a thing, and when there's a thing, someone can try to sell it to you or sell, once you've got a car, someone can sell you how to service your car. If you believe there's an authentic self, someone can sell you self-help books about how to improve your authentic self. I don't think it exists. I think
Yeah.
the notion of self is a complicated one, and I'm perfectly happy that I exist. But I don't think that there is such a thing as an authentic self. I think it's a myth which serves other people but doesn't serve any of us.
Yes. So in the spirit of authenticity, how would you describe if someone was on the search for authenticity or who they really are, even if it is a myth, what could that really mean for us in the personal development space? Because some of your comments before about the East and the mountain and all that stuff. How do I be a mountain, John?
Of
What are you
course,
talking about?
you can't, but you, this is almost my fundamental belief about being alive. You, how you experience yourself is actually the relationship between you and the mountain. What you experience is not the self, but the relationship. How you experience you now is your relationship with me. And you're different with me than you are with your daughter or your husband. And you're different
Yeah.
with them than you are perhaps with your friends. And you're different with them than you are perhaps if you're looking out the window and watching a bird at the bird feeder. We are changed by what we're in relationship with. So
Ooh,
even
that is so deep.
well, it's what I write about it
And
in
it's so true.
some of my stuff,
Yeah.
particularly the book I'm trying to write at the moment, that it's the movement from the notion of the isolated self to the notion of the interconnected self. And it's not actually some great new idea. It's the idea that many, many, many cultures over many millennia have always lived by. That you, what feels real, as you stand looking at the mountain, I'm lucky. I sit in my study, I look out the window, and there's mountains about 4 miles across the bogs, and there's gorse, and there's all of that, and then there's some mountains.
Wow.
I am changed. What's real is how I feel in relationship to those mountains. But how I feel in relationship to those mountains now, as I'm also thinking about what I'm talking about with you, will be different to how I will feel if I've just finished a painting and I'm looking at those mountains, or if I've just been scratched by my cat because he's in a bad mood. So we are constantly changed and we are constantly dynamic. And I would want to separate the word authentic, which I think increasingly is a branding and a marketing word, from real, which I think is a much more concrete word. I don't believe in a real self and all of that, but I do believe that our experiences, if we really become present with them, can be real in the moment that they're happening. I am having a real experience, and that's as
Mhm.
real as I get.
And you bring up the concept of presence, which I know both of us are we love presence
Absolutely.
in all ways. Won't go into that, but presence is really the key, and I think to living that realness that you're talking about. It's what, dropping all of the facade of, for instance, comparison or the negative parts of ego where you're trying to one up someone.
Mhm.
And that is relational as well, right? And dropping those negative feelings that come along with it. What I talk about with my clients and my membership is that the negative emotion is always the indicator that something is a little off, that you're feeling either attacked by something or that you're not showing up as the truly you because you're feeling some sort of pressure from somewhere else.
Mhm.
So as as I think about my authentic self, it's more so that I'm going through the world with uh, an attitude of openness, with an attitude of love, with an attitude of um, I accept you, and I'm going to give you the best of me. I think that's the feeling that I always encourage people to live their life, but not stop the negative feelings. It's like those always give you clues
Mm.
as to what is triggering you. It gives
Mm.
you clues to what you need to work on because what triggers me is totally different than what triggers you.
Absolutely. I think there's something very strong in that, I think, which is that what you're referring to, it's a shorthand when you talk about negative emotions and so on, negative feelings, a useful shorthand. But I think you're right to sort of challenge it. They're useful. Negative suggests they're bad. They're not bad. When you have difficult or awkward or uncomfortable feelings, they're not bad. They're really useful pieces of information. They're data coming in.
Yeah.
And for me, most often, that data is about the reality of what you are experiencing right now in this relationship or this moment. The reality is at odds with or does not align with the principles by which you want to live, or doesn't align with who you would like to be or how you would like to be, that there's some kind of misalignment. I often talk about the importance of pleasure in personal development. But pleasure, like every other idea, is complex. It's not simple. There's short-term pleasure, which is in Greek hedonia, having a good time, enjoying yourself, and that's a really nice cup of tea at hedonik. You go, that's really nice. It feels warm. It's lovely. Immediate gratification. But then the other sort of pleasure, which is really important, is eudaimonia, which is uh, long-term pleasure, being the sort of person you want to be. And we can talk about ethics, we can talk about principles, we can talk about character, whatever. But so often what, in the shorthand we might refer to as negative emotions, they're going, you're not living in alignment with your long-term vision of the sort of person you want to be, living the sort of life you want to live. Now, I think those feelings move closer to actual notions of authenticity, but they're very different
Yeah.
to going that there is some authentic self, some lump of selfhood hidden somewhere deep within.
Yeah. Yeah. So just for the listener's sake, you have a very big command of vocabulary,
Mm.
and mine is more simple. So just say those words again in terms of the instant pleasure and the
Okay,
long
two
term.
two Greek words. I think they're ancient Greek words rather than contemporary Greek words. I'm not entirely sure, but hedonia, Hedonia, I think, from which the word hedonism comes. A hedonist is someone who just loves their pleasure. Hedonia means basically, immediate gratification. And it's great, it's having a laugh. It's drinking a cold beer. It's, being going out and saying, I'm not going to do my work tonight. I'm going to, go and sit with somebody I love looking at the sunset. It's having a really enjoyable life. And, there are some moralists who say that hedonism is a bad thing. I don't go there. I don't think there's anything particularly bad with people enjoying their lives. Uh, but it is also immediate gratification, hedonia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eudaimonia, Eudaimonia, or something like that. Eudaimonia. I might be spelling those very wrong. Uh,
Also,
Eudaimonia
do you have a list on your D? You
is a
the
Greek D.
I know. Sheesh.
Thadume.
You're
That's Greek, you
educating
see.
us.
Th uh, Eudaimonia. Any Greeks listening will go, that's not how you say it. Uh, um, Eudaimonia is essentially the pleasure of right living,
Mm,
the pleasure of living in accordance with or building the way that you want to live. Yeah, and you can talk about it in slightly different terms as delayed gratification, but I don't think that's quite accurate. It links to those things, but it's about
yeah.
saying it's in basic terms there, if you go, there's a task that I have to do, a job I have got to do. I've got two jobs I have to do. One of them will be quite fun. One of them is really quite important, but it won't be quite fun. You can do the fun one, and that's indulging in hedonia, or you can do the less fun one and enjoy doing it because you know that you want to be the sort of person who will have done that thing. I said I would turn up to this meeting,
Yeah.
and I want to be that person. I want to be the person who does turn up and who honors his word or honors her word or learns the skill that some years down the line will enable me to do the thing that I want to do. So, too much eudaimonia and you become a martyr. I'm always doing this for everyone else. I never have any fun. I turn up to all these meetings and nobody's ever grateful. And you end up as a sort of sour little sourpuss who goes, I never have any fun. Too much hedonia, and you pretty much hang around having a great time and then wonder why you've never made anything of your life. Uh,
Yeah.
but you combine them, which is why in my work, when I'm training people or coaching people, I say, pursue pleasure in your work, but know what pleasure you're pursuing. It's not about doing what you want. It's about finding what you love about what needs to be done. And if you're doing it, like I've got my accounts sitting in front of me, it's horrifying. I haven't done my accounts for 4.5 months. I've got receipts sitting there. Literally, I've got a stack of receipts that thick
Yeah.
sitting there and hundreds online. And I
Ish.
don't want to do them. I hate it. But I
Yeah.
do want to be the sort of person who has got my desk tidy. So one of these days I'm going to have to come down at 8:30 in the morning, sit at my desk, put on some music and say, I don't leave this desk until my accounts are up to date. And you know what? At the end of it, I will go, I'm glad I did that. And that's my pleasure. My pleasure in the doing of it is knowing that at the end of it, I will go, I'm glad I did that. I want to be
Yes.
that
But
sort of person.
you're allowing yourself bathroom breaks though, right? It's really
With,
important.
with the amount of tea and coffee I drink, it would be a disaster not to.
That's the only concern I heard when I listened to that plan.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be you, the Manir, when you do your accounts, and Heather Near when you go for the bathroom break. It's like, oh, that
There you
feels
go. There you
amazing.
go.
Come back. Here we go. There's pleasure everywhere.
Yes, that's it. And that is such a it's like that balance. What do they call the teeter-totter, where you're in present instant gratification pleasure versus doing things that is going to add up to what you really want in life.
Mm,
It's kind of like working out versus scrolling on social media, you know?
absolutely. Now, I think the
So,
mistake people make, particularly when they're training or whatever, is they say, have some fun and now do the work. And I don't think
mm,
that's a good idea. I think you go, have some fun and then realize that there are other ways to having fun. And doing
yeah,
the work is also fun if you
yeah.
can find the attitude to enable you to do it. And what's the attitude? Well, we come back towards authenticity. I mean, as you know, I gave a big speech to one of the big American banks in London a couple of weeks back. And one of the key elements of that, it was around finding courage in times of change and around team building, what actors know
Mm,
about team building and so on. And one of the key things in that was ensuring that if you're putting together a team or you're managing a team in any form, everyone has as much agency as is possible to find their own way of doing their job and to see how their way of doing their job makes an effect, has it makes a difference. So the pleasure can
yeah,
be found even if there's things that you have to do in being given the space and the freedom to find how you want best to do them.
yeah. No, that's really important, I think. And it's what I try to also teach my kids. There's going to be things in life you've got to do that aren't necessarily pleasurable.
Mm,
So, for instance, every year we've got to do this family raking because we have so many leaves
mm,
on our acreage. So, yeah, it's not fun, but we can make it fun. We can make it into a game. So it's finding pleasure in the things you need to do in life. I know that what I've learned in my life is that whatever topic you give me, I can find some pleasure in it
mm,
because I'm interested. I'm curious. There was I typically don't like anything to do with money, uh, except making it. But managing it, investing it, it's not my jam. But I know that if I got into watching stocks, if I got into the whole nuance of the market, I would also see the beauty in that.
mm.
So I know I can be interested in anything that I have to be interested in, but there are things that I would rather do. So
And I would
I think
suggest,
that's also part of authenticity is finding what you truly are blissful in.
well, there's a very famous phrase from uh, somebody whose name I always forget, which I really shouldn't because he's very famous, which is follow your bliss.
Yes.
Pursuing, I rephrase it as pursuing pleasure, but pursuing that passion, that urge, and it might be short-term passion, might be long-term. And in terms of the sort of topic that we started with, authenticity, like so many of our conversations, we go on long journeys round away from them. But
Yes.
in
Love it.
term in terms of that idea of authenticity, I would at least like to suggest to myself, I'm just thinking it through as we go, that when I feel inauthentic, really inauthentic, I just feel this isn't me. It's because the pleasure, whether it's short term or long term or whatever, pleasure is absent from what I'm doing. I'm not approaching
Right.
this, not, it's not, I'm not being who I am, because that doesn't mean anything to me. I am not approaching this in the way that I want to be approaching this.
Mm,
I'm not being in alignment with how I want to be in this world. What feels like the best version of me. You talk about curiosity and discovery. Yeah, that's pretty much me too. If I'm in, frustrated with somebody having a conversation, I'm going, oh, yeah, 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 shut up. I'm not interested. I know it's because I'm not engaging I want to hear you. I'm not really being present with you. What are you actually saying? Because when I do that, myself comes back into focus because myself enters into relationship with that person that I'm speaking to.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that absence of alignment with bliss or pleasure or whatever is, I think, for me,
But what,
what creates a sense of inauthenticity.
so are you being inauthentic when you're doing your books? Because you don't want to do that.
No, no, but see, so it doesn't become what you're doing, it becomes about how you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If I'm sitting there going, all right, I got to do my accounts and I'm just going to do it and I hate it, then I'm going to feel pretty crappy through the whole day it takes me to do it. But if I can break that down into tasks and set myself little challenges, or, put on some music that I really want to listen to while I do it, and go, oh, I haven't listened to this piece of music for a while. I'll sort of have half an ear on that one. Whatever it takes to make me feel like I am actually engaged in the task I'm doing, that's what will liberate the joy. And liberating the joy will liberate the authenticity to me.
Yeah. So there, it feels like there's two things or more, but the two things that I thought about was the authenticity when we are doing various things that, the instant gratification versus whatever. But I also the concept of bliss, which I do think is part of being who you really are, because we're all so different. So I think one of our great responsibilities in life is to follow your bliss,
Mm,
is to follow your joy, because only by doing that, we further the world. I, I feel like we're all little hands creating the world. And if I make you do something that isn't blissful to you, you're not going to accomplish it as fast or as joyfully as you could compared to someone who loves it.
mm,
And that's, we all like such different things, which is the diversity of life, which makes it so beautiful. There's someone who finds joy in picking up garbage
yeah.
because it makes the world clean. If, there's just that attitude that people have that they bring to the world. A really short example is my youngest son is big into volleyball, and there's a huge score sheet that goes with it. I love doing the score sheet, and other parents hate it. So actually, they love it when, they feel guilty when it's their turn to do the score sheet, and I'm just like, I'll do it for you. And they're like, oh, feel guilty about it. But like, I love it.
Mm,
So you hating it is actually giving me some joy.
mm,
So it's, I guess, appreciating everyone's diversity and working with your strengths, your interests, your desires, and letting people run rampant with that. I was thinking earlier about school. There is that foundational, that process that we make everyone go through, that we, want to teach people the basics of history and math and English and all that stuff, that we have to, everyone has to power through that. But after that, it's like, let your let your wants and desires shine
mm.
and pursue it with wild abandon while also doing your books.
Well, so yeah, and that last bit you say is really important, isn't it? Because I agree absolutely with what you're saying. Absolutely. And in terms of education, it's interesting. The last couple of days I've actually spent in primary schools doing some work on anxiety. Why it says something about the society we're living in that I'm working with primary school children, trying to give them strategies to overcome anxiety. I mean, it breaks my heart that I'm doing that. I'm glad that they've found the money to enable me to do it because I think I can make a wee difference to them. But, why? Why are bloody 10-year-olds struggling with anxiety? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What are we doing to them? What what you say, the basics, yeah, maths and being able to write and whatever, critical thinking, all of that, really important, really important. The other key thing that we all need to learn right the way through life. I mean, I'm over 60 now and I'm still, working on this, is to continually make our understanding of our bliss or our authenticity more sophisticated. Because if you just follow your bliss, some people will read that as have loads of fun. And then
Yeah.
they go, yeah, but I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that because it's not fun. I'm just going to have fun. And that's not how it goes. How it goes is developing your understanding of who you want to be and who you are so that you can seek bliss. You can't always find bliss, but you can seek your bliss in anything that gets thrown at you. Now, of course, that's an ideal.
Yeah.
Some stuff is just crap and it hurts. I had a
Yeah.
heart attack 6 years ago. I'm not going to pretend it was a good idea. Oh, great, I've had a heart attack. Isn't it wonderful? No, it's not. It's not good. But seeking the bliss in that seems to me the an intrinsic part of growing up. And if I want to be really snooty, I think Western civilization generally, or the capitalist system we live in, is dedicated to keeping us as infants, selling us toys we don't need. So to keep an economy going, which is basically based on extraction and waste. Have loads of fun. Oh, you got a pension, buy a toy. Oh, you got this, buy a toy. What it doesn't do, it's what so many more sophisticated cultures do, such as indigenous cultures and whatever, says as you get older, take on more responsibility. Find your joy in being the repository of wisdom, in the one who
Yeah.
goes to care for the troubled youth, in the one who asks the big questions about life and death. Grow up. And
You've
that for
just
me,
given us meaning to our senior years.
well, I think
Is that?
I think the West is fatally weakened by our lack of respect for elders.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's probably another whole topic which we might talk about some other time. Uh, but
Yes.
I think it really links to this notion of bliss and how bliss or pleasure or joy or whatever word we want to use helps us be not an authentic self, but helps us be in authentic connection with the world.
Ooh, I like that. That's a great point to end on, John.
Well, I think that is possibly a full stop.
Mic drop.
Brilliant. That was a lovely topic you actually suggested that one. It's a really lovely
And I
topic to
threw it
play
at
with.
you at the very last minute, and there we go.
Well, let's keep it real. It'd
Yes.
be a shame not to keep it real when you
Authenticity.
talk about authenticity, wouldn't it?
Yes, let's next time at our tea thing, we'll drink coffee.
That'll confuse everybody, especially me at this time of the afternoon. Lovely. Let's talk again next week
Sounds
and
great.
explore something altogether different. Enjoy your tea, Angela.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to know more about School of Humankind, please visit our website at www.schoolofhumankind.com, or you can drop us an email on hello@schoolofhumankind.com. Take care out there.